I figured I would start doing reviews of other things that I own and other things that I've collected. I collect box fans, old TVs, old laptops, stuff like that. It's just kind of an eclectic hobby that I've gotten over the years. And old laptops are something else I play with a lot. As you can see, I've got the old box fans in the background. But anyway, this here is a Sony Vaio PCG-V505. It is a model ECP. The lettering does vary quite a bit about the way the laptop's going to be specification-wise. This laptop came with two options in its lifetime. The earlier versions contain a Pentium 4M. The later versions got the Centrino technology, which has a Pentium M, which is a far better CPU. It's faster, it's more robust. Now this one in particular has a 1.5 gigahertz Pentium M. It has 2 gigabytes of RAM in it. It uses the earlier DDR RAM, not DDR2. This uses just normal DDR. It has a 60 gigabyte hard drive. This has the Intel Wireless, the 2200BG, Yamaha audio, which is irrelevant. The speakers in these are terrible. I'll just skip that and say the speakers are terrible. We'll get to that. And I would say this is the later version of it. 2004, I think, is when this one came out. I remember when these were new. I think they made them 2002, 2003, and 04. Then they were discontinued for something else in 04. Now, the reason I have this laptop in particular is because I like the design of these. They're simplistic. They're not very complicated. I think they're more of an early attempt at an ultra-portable laptop is what Sony was going for. With the removal of ports that were common at the time. This has no serial ports on it. No parallel ports, anything like that. It just has the very basic appointments. It has a USB port on this side. Underneath these little decorative things, it has a 56K modem. Has your LAN connection. It has a slimmed down DVD burner in it. This is a higher end model. This one will burn DVDs. On the front, it has your power switch. Has your hardware switch for your wireless to turn it on and off. A lot of older laptops have this. On the other side, it has your other USB 2.0 port, FireWire 400, microphone, audio, and your charging wire, which even for back then it uses the double barrel kind of connector, which I like these better than the connectors that were more common back then, which break. These seem to be more robust. It just has a very nice design. It's a nice, appealing color. I would say it's kind of a silverish color with a bit of a purple tone to it. It has nice edges. It almost looks aerodynamic if you really want to look at it. It's like it's stacked in 3 layers. You've got your black, you've got your center layer, and then you've got your screen. Now, because this one's a Pentium M version, it's quite a bit more powerful than the Pentium 4. So, this one is running Windows 7, which makes it quite usable. Fire it up here, show the boot time. Sorry for the reflection from the light. I have a fairly bright light hidden behind it to get a good view of it. Or, excuse me, I have a bright light behind the camera to illuminate. I'll do that. There we go. That's much better. As you can hear, the speakers are completely awful. It's stereo sounds, left channel here, right channel here on the edges of the laptop, pretty much in line with the hinges. But as you can see, it runs Windows 7. And this is Windows 7 Ultimate. It'll browse the internet fine, it'll do Facebook, Twitter. It'll even play YouTube videos. It won't play them in high definition, no. But it will play them at the normal 360, 480, whatever. As you can see, it brings up Firefox. Let's open Google. Oops. If it was set on the right thing. It is still loading. It doesn't have the world's fastest hard drive in it. Now this does use PATA hard drives. You can get SSDs for these. King Spec, it's a Chinese company, but the stuff they make is all right. They do make a PATA SSD, which I actually have that in one of my other kind of ultra portables from the same era as this one, but that one's a Dell. I'll do a review on that one later. That's a Inspiron 700M. As you can see, it browses the internet fine. I'll bring up YouTube. I don't have anything saved in here because this hasn't been set up that long. Just to give an idea, it is usable. It will play videos. I'm not going to play anybody's videos because I don't want to violate anybody's copyrights, so I'm not actually going to play a video for demonstration. Unless one of mine, not unless one of mine's in this list. And it does not appear any of my videos are in this list, so we're just going to skip playing a video. But that's to show that it'll... You can see I watch a lot of stuff like Mighty Car Mods, regular car reviews. I watch a lot of car stuff. You can see all that. But you can open up another tab. You can see I've accessed my router from it a couple times. I had to actually bring my router down from WPA2. Because when I initially had it, it had Windows XP, and Windows XP for some reason wouldn't do WPA2, so I brought my router down. When I upgraded to 7, I just went ahead and put my router back to WPA2. That's just basic web browsing. It does pretty much all basic web browsing. Even in 2016, it still does it just fine. And this is a laptop from 2004. Now, objectively, Sony cut some corners on this laptop. The keyboard is very cheap. It's a reduced size. I think somewhere I read it's like 85% keyboard, which means it's 85% of the size of a normal, something like that. Please, if somebody knows correctly, go ahead and correct me, but it is a reduced size, and it does feel cheap under the fingers. It feels thin, which it is. The hinges are very tight on it, as you can see. It uses kind of a cheap style hinges, but they seem secure enough. The optical drive is slow because of the age. This is actually a fairly slow optical drive. It took it quite a while to install Windows 7 off of a DVD. Where on a more modern laptop, I have an HP around here with an i5 in it. When I installed Windows 7 on it, it took it 20 minutes. This took over an hour to install Windows 7. But now that Windows 7's in it, it works fantastic. Graphics-wise, the biggest issue you're going to run into with one of these, upgrading from Windows XP to Windows 7, is the mobility Radeon that's in this is a 9200. It is completely unsupported in Windows Vista, Windows 7. I had to force a Windows XP driver to work. It works, but DirectX is not going to work. Windows Aero is not going to work. You're not going to have stuff like the fancy transparency down here or any of that. None of that's going to work. But as long as you have the graphics drivers installed, it will play old games. I don't have any installed right now, but it'll play lots of old games that were under XP. It'll still play those. It'll play games from Windows 98 and below. But you don't buy something like this to play games on. These were an ultra portable, and I think they were more aimed at business, like business use laptops then. The other problem with these laptops is the screens vary from model to model. Over here I have one of the first versions from 2002. Forgot to mention too, these do have PCMCIA, and they have VGA as well, which is nice. So you can plug an external monitor into these. Now let me slip this one aside here, put this one next to it. This is the Pentium 4M version. These laptops are 2 years apart in age. The keyboard's a little aged on this one. This one's older. The distinct differences are, if you look here, there's no wireless. Over here, that wireless hardware switch I pointed out earlier doesn't have one. But for the most part, everything's the same. The big difference is the screen is different. I think Sony was using a different screen panel in this version. They're both 1024 by 768. But this one, both colors and viewability, is far better on the Pentium M version. The viewing angles are not very good on this one, and the colors are very muted. And it's not just that it's old. I remember that back then, too, which kept me from buying the Pentium 4M version when these were new. I remember when these were brand new on the store shelves at Best Buy, Circuit City, when they were still in business. These weren't a cheap laptop. The higher-end versions of these were like $1,500, and that was a lot of money back then. I ended up going for a full-size 15-inch when I actually bought a new laptop, but I was very strongly considering one of these when they were new. I didn't end up going with it. But for the most part, everything is identical between them. But if you're just buying it as a novelty to play old games on, yes, the Pentium 4M version is fantastic. You can play older games on it. It'll run Windows XP beautifully. It'll handle up to 2 gigabytes of RAM, no problem. They both use old DDR RAM. You can still get wireless PCMCIA cards, which I actually have one here for it, and that's how I was getting wireless on this one, is just that, but it sticks out the side of the laptop and it's cumbersome. So I ended up searching eBay and I found the ECP. I wanted one of the late versions. They both have the mobility Radeon. The Pentium 4M version here only has 16 megabytes. 16 megabytes. Let me make sure I'm clear on that. Of dedicated video RAM. This version here, the ECP, has 32 megabytes. Which, back then, that was pretty good back then. Now we're in gigabytes. This is 12 years ago, so. But the designs are basically the same. And they're good laptops. I like them. I like the design. Let this one shut down so I can show them side by side, and then we'll wrap this video up. But all the porting options are the same between them both. As you can see on both of them, we'll just stack them on top of each other here. The older version is on top. This is the Pentium 4 version. This is the M version. Can't get that to stay closed anymore. You can see the porting options. They're basically identical to each other. But if you want to have it usable and you want to have something fun to play with, get one that's an ECP like this with the Pentium 4M in it. Now the hinges, I don't understand why, but for some reason the later versions, the hinges are very tight. Like I can lift the whole laptop with it, and it's a little hard to close. Or this one, this is the Pentium 4. It does too, but it's not nearly as bad. I don't understand that. But that is that. That is the, I would say, 2016 review. The Sony Vaio PCG-V505 series. Thanks for watching.